Exorcisms aren't just stories, they're real. And this one will haunt you forever. Imagine living in a house where shadows move on their own, whispers fill the night, and a dark presence grows stronger each day. This isn't a movie. This is a real-life horror story of an exorcism that went horribly wrong. In a small town in the middle of nowhere, the Johnson family thought they had found their dream home. It was an old, Victorian-style house with a price that seemed too good to be true. But soon after moving in, strange things started happening. The youngest daughter, Emily, began to act differently. She was always a sweet, cheerful child, but now she seemed distant and afraid. Emily's behavior grew more alarming. She started talking to herself, or rather, to someone who wasn't there. Her parents brushed it off as an imaginary friend, but it got worse. She'd wake up screaming in the middle of the night, her eyes wide with terror, insisting that someone was watching her. Her parents took her to doctors, psychologists, anyone who could help, but no one could find anything wrong with her. Desperation set in. Emily's condition continued to deteriorate. She would speak in strange, guttural voices, her eyes rolling back into her head. She would thrash and scream, her strength far exceeding what a girl her size should have. Then came the physical manifestations. Bruises and scratches appeared on Emily's body, seemingly out of nowhere. Objects in the house would move on their own. The family dog would bark and growl at empty air. The atmosphere in the house grew heavy, oppressive, filled with a palpable sense of dread. It was then that the Johnsons sought help from the church. They were referred to Father Thomas, a priest with experience in exorcisms. Father Thomas arrived, a tall, stern man with a kind heart and a steely resolve. He knew the dangers of what he was about to face, but was determined to help the suffering family. The night of the exorcism was one of the darkest in the town's history. Father Thomas set up his tools, a crucifix, holy water, and the Bible. Emily was restrained to her bed, screaming and writhing, her voice no longer her own. Shadows seemed to dance on the walls, the temperature in the room dropping to an icy chill. Father Thomas began the ritual, reciting prayers and sprinkling holy water. Emily's screams grew louder, more tortured. She spat curses and threats in languages she had never learned. The house itself seemed to tremble under the weight of the evil presence. Hours passed, each minute feeling like an eternity. Father Thomas's voice grew hoarse, but he never wavered. The family watched in horror, clinging to each other, praying for a miracle. The entity within Emily fought back with all its might, throwing the room into chaos. Windows shattered and furniture flew across the room. Finally, with one last desperate cry, Father Thomas shouted, "In the name of God, I command you to leave this child." There was a moment of unbearable silence, followed by a blood-curdling scream from Emily. And then she collapsed, silent and still. Emily was free. The entity had been cast out, leaving her exhausted but unharmed. The house, however, bore the scars of the battle. It took weeks for the Johnson family to return to some semblance of normalcy. Emily had no memory of the events, but the fear in her eyes lingered. Father Thomas left, his work done, but the experience left him changed forever. The Johnsons eventually moved away, unable to bear the memories that haunted their home. The house still stands, a silent witness to the horrors that unfolded within its walls. And the townspeople? They never forgot the night they heard the screams, the night the darkness was driven out but never fully defeated. Subscribe for more terrifying true stories.